picture this for a second. It's 2 a.m.
Oh, the classic creator hour.
Right. The rest of the world is completely quiet, but you are wide awake, just staring at the glow of a screen. You're editing an AI-generated video.
And there's no boss breathing down your neck.
Exactly. No looming deadline. Just zero pressure. But you are completely obsessed. You sit there tweaking a prompt by just like a few words.
Adjusting the timeline by a fraction of a second.
Yeah, or you swap out a generated voice for one that sounds just slightly more raspy, a little more human, and then suddenly, bam, everything clicks.
It's a great feeling.
It really is. The image is perfect, the audio pacing is flawless. It's exactly what you heard in your head. In that specific moment, the world on that screen bends entirely to your will.
No pushback, no misunderstanding.
None. It is just you and a universe that does exactly what you tell it to do.
Which is an incredibly intoxicating feeling, and it's a feeling that's becoming universally common for anyone stepping into the modern creator economy. We're all building these perfect little worlds inside our monitors.
Welcome to our deep dive. Today we are exploring a profoundly fascinating philosophical analysis that looks right at this phenomenon of AI content creation.
And I want to be clear right up front, the mission of this deep dive is not to talk about the underlying tech.
Right, we are not debating neural network parameters or like the latest software updates today.
No, we're here to answer a slightly uncomfortable question that our sources pose. Do we love making AI content because it makes us wonderfully creative, or
do we love it because it gives us absolute control in a world where we otherwise have almost none?
It's a heavy question, and to even begin to understand the answer, we have to look at how our brains are fundamentally wired.
Yeah, we have to look at why we so desperately hate the messiness of the real physical world, and why that 2 a.m. editing session feels like such a safe haven.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because if you think about traditional creative work, it is inherently fraught with friction.
Constant friction.
Right. In the real world, you set up a camera, and suddenly the natural lighting changes because a cloud moved.
Or the microphone starts picking up static out of nowhere.
Yeah, or a siren goes off outside. Or honestly, you just wake up, you're having a bad hair day, you stumble over your words. The physical world fights your creative vision at every single step.
And our brains are evolutionarily hardwired to despise that friction. The psychologist Sigmund Freud, he had this concept called the tension reduction.
Tension reduction.
Yeah. Freud argued that human beings naturally gravitate toward whatever reduces psychological tension. We don't naturally seek out what is true, and we definitely don't seek out what's difficult.
We seek out what is pleasant.
Right, pleasant and predictable. Evolutionarily speaking, our brains equate uncertainty with risk and risk with danger.
Wow, okay.
So if you don't know what's going to happen next, even if it's just a cloud ruining your shot, you're in a vulnerable position.
So every single one of those moments of friction in the real world is essentially a tiny spike of tension. Like a tiny subconscious loss of control that tells our brain, hey, things aren't going according to plan, you might be in danger.
Precisely. But the AI workspace, it creates this perfect closed control loop. You try something, you see the result immediately, you adjust it, and you try again.
And if the prompt fails and generates something bizarre, there are no real-world consequences.
None. There's no wasted film, no angry crew waiting around, no real hurt. It is fundamentally a perfectly safe environment where tension is constantly being reduced.
The brain learns very quickly, like, here, I am safe, here, I am completely in charge.
Exactly.
But wait, let me push back on this a little. Isn't eliminating friction isn't it just good workflow? Like if I could use an AI tool to bypass a bad hair day or terrible lighting in my apartment, I'm just being efficient. Why is having a smooth, controllable environment painted as something psychologically dangerous? It sounds like you're saying convenience is a trap.
No, efficiency is fantastic, and the tools themselves are morally neutral. It only becomes dangerous when we start using that frictionless environment as a hiding place.
A hiding place.
Right. Because the physical friction, the bad lighting, the sirens, that's just the surface level. We can deal with bad lighting. The real danger is when we use AI to avoid social friction. We aren't just terrified of clouds ruining our lighting, we're terrified of other people judging us. We are terrified of the audience.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because putting yourself out there online is terrifying. One wrong word, one awkward facial expression, and it's clipped, it's memed, and it lives on the internet forever.
And that fear isn't paranoia, it's the reality of modern power dynamics. Think about the internet today. It operates exactly like the concept of the panopticon.
Okay, remind me, that's Foucault, right?
Yeah, Michel Foucault. The panopticon was a prison design where the inmates could be watched by a single guard at any moment, but they never knew exactly when they were being watched.
Right.
Because of that constant uncertainty, the inmates would police their own behavior perfectly. Foucault argued that modern society does this to us. We're conditioned to self-monitor and self-correct constantly, because in the digital age, every single mistake is recorded, analyzed, and judged unforgivingly by the collective.
So stepping in front of a real camera as your real self is a massive social risk. You are willingly walking into the panopticon and just hoping the guards are in a good mood.
Exactly.
But AI provides this brilliant loophole. You can participate in the creator economy, you can share ideas, build a massive following, all without taking on any personal risk.
You remove the vulnerability entirely.
It's like sending a stunt double out to do the dangerous work of simply existing in public. And just like in a movie, the stunt double never gets the Oscar. Right?
That's true.
The double takes the hits, but the actor gets the glory. With AI, we're trying to get the social glory of being a successful creator without ever taking the hits of public vulnerability.
That is a phenomenal way to frame it. You're creating a barrier between your ego and the public's reaction. Carl Jung talked about the persona, which is the social mask we all wear to interact with the world. In the physical world, your mask slips sometimes. You say the wrong thing, your tone is misunderstood, you accidentally reveal a vulnerability.
Yeah, we've all been there.
But AI allows you to construct a flawless, highly controlled persona, a digital mask with zero risk of misspeaking, zero risk of looking tired, and zero risk of being misunderstood.
It's the ultimate bulletproof stunt double. But is it really just the audience we're afraid of? Or are we sometimes afraid that the AI is actually better at being us than we are?
What do you mean?
Well, if I use an AI voice, I don't have to listen to my own awkward inflections. I don't have to hear my own verbal crutches. I feel like in some cases, I'm hiding from myself, not just the audience.
It's a really good point.
And honestly, what if someone runs a faceless AI channel just because it's a stylistic choice? What if they genuinely just think an AI-generated sci-fi narrator sounds cooler for their lore videos than their own voice? Are we really saying they're fundamentally scared of the real world?
No, that's a crucial distinction. Not every AI creator is hiding. To parse this out, our sources look at this philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche.
Okay, bringing in Nietzsche.
Yeah. Nietzsche argued that the moral weight of an action isn't in the action itself, but in the motive behind it.
A motive.
Right. Two people can be sitting in their rooms at 2 a.m. generating the exact same AI video, but they are engaging in two completely different psychological exercises based on their internal motivation.
Okay, so if you are using an AI voice because it's genuinely the best format for your script, you need a gritty 1940s radio announcer and you are a 20-something with a high voice, then AI is simply a tool.
Exactly.
It's just expanding your capability to tell a story.
But if you're using that AI voice specifically because you're terrified of people hearing your real voice and judging your accent, your tone, or your stutter, then AI is no longer a tool. It has become a protective shell.
And here is where the psychological danger creeps in, right?
Yes. Over time, when you get too used to living inside a perfectly safe, bulletproof shell, a new problem emerges. You realize you aren't the actor anymore. You're just the manager of the stunt double.
And once you get used to wearing that perfectly safe, flawless mask, taking it off feels absolutely terrifying. The contrast between your digital power and your physical vulnerability becomes unbearable. I know our sources describe this stark contrast as the existential drop.
The existential drop, it is a very subtle, quiet moment.
Yeah.
It's the moment you realize you actually prefer the AI world to the real one. You close your laptop, you walk out of your room, and suddenly you are back in a reality that has no script, no timeline, and most terrifyingly, no undo button.
No undo button. It's like we've been playing life with cheat codes on, God mode is activated, infinite resources, zero damage.
Exactly.
And when we finally have to step outside to get a coffee or just interact with another human being, we get furiously frustrated that the universe won't follow our prompts. We expect reality to be as compliant as the software.
And reality absolutely refuses to comply. It is stubbornly, frustratingly chaotic. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre wrote extensively about this.
Right.
Sartre believed that human beings inherently want to flee from freedom. Now, that sounds counterintuitive. We all say we want freedom, but true freedom brings agonizing uncertainty.
because you're responsible.
Yes. When you are truly free in the real world, you are entirely responsible for the chaotic, unpredictable outcomes of your actions.
Think about your own workflow for a second if you're listening. When you hit generate and the image isn't quite right, do you feel an actual spike of stress or just a mild annoyance? You just tweak the prompt and try again.
Right.
Now compare that to when you post a real, unedited photo of yourself online or give a public presentation and it falls flat. The gap in anxiety between those two scenarios is exactly what Sartre is talking about.
In the AI world, you are insulated from the chaos of freedom. You're fleeing into a safe simulation, which actually brings up a fascinating modern application of Karl Marx.
Marx. Usually when we think of Marx, we think of 19th century factory workers and capitalism.
Exactly. Marx had this concept of alienation, where industrialization alienated workers from the products of their labor. They were just making identical shoe soles on an assembly line, completely disconnected from the actual craft of shoemaking.
But how does that apply to the AI creator? Because the creator is the one directing the entire vision. They aren't an assembly line worker, they're the director.
They are the director, yes, but they become alienated from the human element of their own art.
Oh, wow.
You become alienated from your own creative work because you aren't truly present or vulnerable in it. You type a prompt, and a machine generates a deeply emotional, resonant voiceover, but you didn't have to feel that emotion.
Right, you didn't have to crack your voice or hold back tears or expose your actual soul to get that take.
Exactly. You outsource the humanity.
Yeah.
You control the product perfectly, but you don't actually have to face it with your own skin in the game.
Which honestly sounds like a huge relief to a lot of people.
Oh, definitely.
And that ties perfectly into what Dostoevsky pointed out about human nature. We actually love systems where we don't have to carry the heavy burden of real responsibility.
Yes.
If the AI hallucinates a weird script or the avatar's hands look bizarre, you can just blame the prompt or you blame the software update. Oh, the AI is acting weird today. You don't have to bear the full, crushing weight of a creative failure because it wasn't entirely you who failed.
It's a diffusion of responsibility, and if we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, it leads to a profound sense of absurdity.
Absurdity.
Yeah, the philosopher Albert Camus wrote about the absurd, this fundamental, unresolvable conflict between the human desire for order, meaning, and control, and the silent, chaotic, unreasonable universe that simply refuses to give us that order.
So when Camus says we live in an absurd world where we demand order but the universe refuses to give it, is our modern obsession with AI basically our way of building a tiny fake universe where we finally get to be the boss?
No.
Where we finally defeat the absurdity of life?
That is exactly what we are doing. We are constructing a tiny, totally controllable universe inside a 16-inch screen. And building a fake universe is incredibly comforting.
Yeah, it gives us the illusion that we've conquered the chaos.
But the problem, as Camus would be quick to point out, is that you eventually have to log off.
Right.
You have to leave the simulation. You have to go have dinner with your family or navigate traffic or deal with a sudden illness. And how we handle the psychological whiplash of logging off, of transitioning from total digital control back to total physical chaos, is the real test of our era.
Which means we need a coping mechanism. And interestingly, our sources suggest that the framework we need to survive this whiplash isn't a new psychological theory, but a philosophy that is thousands of years old. We have to pull a page out of the Stoic playbook.
We do, because the goal of analyzing all of this isn't to say AI is bad, throw your laptops out the window and go live in the woods. The tools are miraculous. The goal is to figure out how to navigate these two vastly different realities, the frictionless digital and the high friction physical, without losing our minds.
So what does this all mean? Let's break down that Stoic strategy. Think about Epictetus. His whole philosophy was based on the dichotomy of control.
Yes.
He taught that the most vital distinction in human life is knowing the absolute difference between what is under your control and what is not.
And in the AI world, you control almost everything. Every pixel, every decibel, every frame is subject to your command. But the danger lies in expectation bleed.
Expectation bleed.
Yeah, if you take that expectation of total control and subconsciously apply it to the real world, if you expect that same immediate compliance from your friends, your career trajectory, or your audience's reaction, you are guaranteeing your own suffering.
Right. You cannot prompt engineer your spouse into doing the dishes.
No, you can't.
You can't adjust the timeline on a bad conversation with your boss.
And when the real world doesn't comply, you feel like it's a bug in the system rather than just the reality of human existence.
This is where the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius's rule becomes so essential. Do your part, the rest is not up to you. The stoic shift has to happen the exact moment you close the laptop.
Consciously.
Yes, you have to actively, consciously change your mindset. You must shift from a mindset of controlling outcomes to a mindset of confronting reality.
Seneca touches on this beautifully when he notes that we suffer more in imagination than in reality.
Oh, I love that quote.
It's so relevant here. In the AI environment, you are essentially controlling your imagination. You're taking your imagination and making it perfectly manifest on the screen. But in reality, if you cling to how you imagine things should go, you'll be constantly exhausted, constantly disappointed, and constantly looking for a way to retreat back to the screen.
Let me try to distill this with a metaphor.
Yeah.
When you hit publish on that perfectly crafted, zero-friction, highly controlled AI video, your control ends instantly.
Instantly.
The very second that file hits the internet, it enters the real world. You can't control the algorithm. You can't control the haters in the comments. You can't control if someone entirely misunderstands your nuanced point and takes offense.
Yeah.
You have to essentially take off the VR headset of perfect control and re-accept gravity.
Re-accept gravity. That is the perfect way to summarize it. You have to let go of the need for the world to bend to your will.
Right.
As Nietzsche argued elsewhere, true strength isn't the ability to control everything. True strength is not needing to control everything.
Wow.
It's having the fortitude to exist in the friction, to be misunderstood, to fail, and to stand back up without needing a digital shield.
And Camus drives that home. We must live in the world as it actually is, not just as we want it to be. If you spend all your time in the frictionless world, your tolerance for reality atrophies, like a muscle you never used.
Exactly.
The Stoic approach allows you to use the tool of AI to its absolute fullest potential, to create, to envision, to build, without letting the logic of the tool infect how you view human existence.
The friction is the feature of human life, not the bug. A flawless, controlled simulation can never forge character. It can only reflect what's already there.
This has been such a paradigm-shifting deep dive. We started with a simple observation about a 2 a.m. video editing session and ended up dissecting the human condition. So let's wrap this up and bring it all together for you listening.
Sounds good.
The core takeaway from our sources today is that AI is, without a doubt, a miraculous tool. It expands human capability, it allows us to visualize the impossible, and it democratizes creativity for people who might not have had the resources otherwise.
It really does.
But it becomes psychologically dangerous the exact moment it transforms from a tool into a sanctuary, a pristine hiding place we go to escape a reality we cannot control. Sartre reminds us that we are thrown into the world without a manual. It's supposed to be messy.
It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And Nietzsche reminds us that it is only within that real, chaotic, friction-filled world that we can actually become our true selves. So, to you listening right now, the next time you sit down at your computer to edit or generate or write with AI, take just a second to audit your own creative process.
Ask yourself the hard question.
Are you using this technology to amplify your voice so you can engage more deeply with the real, messy world? Or are you using it to construct a stunt double so you can hide from a world you can't control?
Because as we established, it is always the motive that defines the action.
And I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to mull over, something that builds on everything we've unpacked today. If our brains naturally crave perfectly controlled, flawless environments, as Freud and the others suggest, what happens a decade from now?
That's the real question.
Yeah.
What happens when perfectly generated, completely frictionless, utterly flawless AI content is literally everywhere? Will we eventually get so sick of that sterile perfection that we actually start artificially injecting human chaos, mistakes, and awkward pauses back into our digital creations? Will we start faking the friction, adding heavy sighs and stutters to our avatars, just to prove to ourselves that there's still a heartbeat behind the screen? Think about that tonight, especially if you find yourself awake at 2 a.m. staring at the glow of a screen, trying to make the world bend perfectly to your will.